Tonight, the push intensified to impeach President Trump for inciting the deadly attack on the Capitol, and Twitter just moments ago permanently suspending the president's account. The threat from Nancy Pelosi saying if President Trump does not leave office immediately, House Democrats will take action to make him the only president in history to be impeached twice. And now the first Republican senator to say, I want him out. The president saying he won't attend Joe Biden's inauguration. We'll tell you how Biden is reacting to that. Disturbing new video inside the siege, the pro-Trump mob bashing windows of the Capitol doors, the moment an officer opens fire, killing one of the invaders, and the federal investigation launched after a Capitol officer dies from his injuries. The manhunt for the rioters, the man seen with his foot on a desk in Nancy Pelosi's office, arrested. The charges he faces, a Republican state lawmaker who live streamed himself storming the building, and dozens more also arrested. All of it as the U.S. hits a grim new milestone. Over 4,000 COVID deaths in a single day. And the new warning, does the U.S. now have its own fast-spreading variant? The major winter storm sweeping coast to coast.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. A history-making second impeachment could be in the cards for President Trump as soon as next week. House Democrats tonight determined to hold him accountable for fanning the deadly violence at the Capitol on Wednesday. This evening, we have new details and harrowing video of the chaos that left among the 5 dead a Capitol police officer. The president releasing a video tweet, perhaps looking to lower the heat on himself. But tonight, the calls for his ouster only grow. And not just among Democrats. We've got a lot to cover here tonight. Chief White House correspondent Kristen Welker starts us off.
President Trump's chaotic tenure could take yet another dramatic turn, with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tonight saying she's preparing to impeach him for a second time if the president does not resign for inciting the Capitol Hill riot. Earlier writing, quote, if the president does not leave office imminently and willingly, the Congress will proceed with our action. Even saying she had called the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to ask about, quote, preventing an unstable president from ordering a nuclear strike. And tonight, congressional officials tell NBC News 3 House Democrats on Monday are planning to introduce articles of impeachment. President-elect Biden tonight, pressed by NBC's Jeff Bennett, says he'll leave any decision on impeachment up to Congress.
He's been an embarrassment to the country, embarrassed us around the world, not worthy to hold that office.
It comes after President Trump announced he will not attend Biden's inauguration, and just hours after he tweeted a video in which he personally acknowledged defeat.
A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
And after earlier praising rioters who ransacked the Capitol, a shift in tone.
To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
Congressional Democrats say that's not enough. At least 230 are demanding President Trump be removed now, just days before his term is over. But with 2 sources telling NBC News Vice President Pence does not support invoking the 25th Amendment to remove him from office, now the calls for impeachment.
I think the American people have seen enough, and they are ready for us to do the job of impeaching this man.
Tonight, Lisa Murkowski, the first Republican senator to call for the president's resignation, telling the Anchorage Daily News, I want him out. He has caused enough damage. But Republican Senator Lindsey Graham heckled today at an airport for criticizing the president. Said another partisan impeachment would further divide the country, tweeting, it is time to heal and move on. If Speaker Pelosi pushes impeachment in the last days of the Trump presidency, it will do more harm than good. Other Republicans agreeing.
I think it's a ridiculous discussion to have. You don't have the time for it to happen, even if there was a reason.
Meanwhile, one of the president's former top aides calling for him to leave now.
Innocent Americans are dead because of the actions of that day and the lack of leadership in those critical hours.
As Biden says the president's absence from his inauguration is welcome.
One of the few things he and I have ever agreed on. It's a good thing I'm not showing up.
And moments ago, Twitter announced they are permanently suspending the president's Twitter account, saying it's, quote, due to the risk of further incitement of violence. Lester.
All right, Kristen Welker at the White House. Our Capitol Hill correspondent Casey Hunt joins us now. Casey, Democrats were not able to get the Republican votes for removal last time around. If they attempt another impeachment, would this time be any different?
Lester, Republicans are incredibly angry with President Trump after what happened at the Capitol, and there are conversations happening about whether he should be impeached. So far, just one Republican senator, Ben Sasse, publicly saying he would consider it. But the top House Republican, Kevin McCarthy, called President-elect Biden today and urged him not to back impeachment, fearing it would inflame the situation further. With Democrats pressing ahead, a critical question is whether they have time left to impeach him. Lester.
All right, Casey Hunt, thank you. The FBI says its top priority is investigating Wednesday's rampage and the death of a Capitol police officer as new video emerged of the deadly shooting of one of the rioters. And we have to warn you, these images are pretty disturbing. Here's Tom Costello.
Tonight, video shot by a self-described civil rights activist shows the terrifying moments rioters reached the door of the Speaker's lobby leading to the House chambers. In a tense standoff, officers try to keep their cool. The crowd advances, then smashes the windows. When Capitol officers move aside to make way for a tactical team, the mob begins climbing towards and through the door. At that moment, an officer on the other side opens fire. Protester Ashley Babbitt falls to the ground, fatally wounded. The officer who fired the gun now on administrative leave. Meanwhile, at the Capitol today, the flag at half-staff to honor Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who died from injuries he sustained in Wednesday's violence. The FBI now leading the investigation. The Sicknick family says Brian is a hero, and that is what we would like people to remember. The FBI reports dozens have now been arrested for Wednesday's rampage, including 60-year-old Richard Barnett of Arkansas, photographed in Speaker Pelosi's office, charged with illegal violent entry and stealing Pelosi's mail. Also charged Lonnie Kaufman of Alabama for possession of 11 Molotov cocktails, handguns, and a semi-automatic weapon. And West Virginia state lawmaker Derek Evans, who live-streamed himself charging the Capitol. Some suspects have identified themselves as well. Josiah Colt, who climbed down from the Senate balcony, then sat in Vice President Pence's chair, says he was caught up in the moment. In a statement to KBOI-TV, he says, "My actions have brought shame upon myself, my family, my friends, and my beautiful country. I beg for forgiveness from America and from my home state of Idaho." Former Midland, Texas mayoral candidate Jenny Cudd posted her own video.
We did break down the Nancy Pelosi's office door, and somebody stole her gavel.
Nationwide, hundreds of federal agents are pursuing riot suspects. Among the felony charges they could face, felony rioting, federal assault and murder charges, obstruction of Congress, destruction of congressional documents, conspiracy and insurrection. Tim Gallagher is the former FBI special agent in charge in D.C.
This is an act of domestic terrorism. So this is what the FBI will be focused on 24/7 to both looking backwards, lock up lawbreakers, and looking forward to help keeping this city and keeping America secure.
The FBI says every field office is working on this, agents all over the country. In addition, it says that if individuals are charged, they could still face more charges in the weeks and months ahead as thousands of tips pour in. Lester?
All right, Tom, thanks. An alarming new report from the White House COVID task force, which says there could be a new and more contagious variant that's driving the spread. It comes as records are being shattered yet again. Here's Miguel Almaguer.
Tonight, the Christmas surge is here as we witness the darkest days of the pandemic. For a second consecutive day, a record number of Americans have become infected and lost their lives to COVID. The single-day death toll soaring above the grim benchmark of 4,000.
The fact of the matter is that eventually this pandemic is going to affect each and every one of us, including your loved ones.
In California, where funeral homes are turning away grieving families, the state needs more mobile morgues. In November, 1 in 25 here tested positive for the virus. Today, that number is 1 in 5.
And now there is growing concern from the FDA that some tests used at sites like this one are reporting false negatives, perhaps leading to some unknowingly spreading the virus.
With that more contagious variant of the virus from the UK now found in Texas, Illinois becomes the 5th state to surpass 1 million infections. But all of the stats are stories.
As a mother, I felt I had to apologize because I felt like I didn't do enough to take care of her.
Deborah Simmental lost her 18-year-old daughter, Sarah, to complications of COVID the day after Christmas.
The doctors and nurses, they all tried so hard. My daughter was a fighter, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It just took over, and it took her from all of us.
Tonight, one mother's grief in a nation full of loss. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
To speed up vaccinations, President-elect Biden plans to release almost all available doses, though some worry that could cause a shortage for the second shot. Meantime, confusion about who qualifies for the vaccine and when. With more on that, here's Stephanie Gosk.
For the first phase of vaccinations, it was clear who was going first: frontline medical workers and residents of long-term care facilities. But now the order and the rollout are getting more complicated.
I know we're not a doctor or a nurse or an ambulance driver, but we are touching people. You know, they're wheelchairs, they're walkers.
68-year-old Sheila Graham drives elderly patients to get medical treatment in New Jersey. She has no idea when she will qualify for the vaccine.
I am concerned because there have been a number of people at this job, drivers especially, who have been exposed.
With each state controlling how vaccines are given, there's a patchwork of plans.
People just don't know where they are in line, and if they are up for the shot, where to go and how to figure that out.
Geneva Conway is 88 years old and lives in Albany, New York. She knows she qualifies for a vaccine.
At my age, I really would like to have the vaccine yesterday.
But she doesn't really understand what's supposed to happen next.
I have not heard of a definitive timetable in this area for my group, for the over 70 people.
Some states, including Texas, have announced that everyone 65 and older is eligible for vaccination.
My phone has been blowing up with citizens calling who are over 65, trying to find out how they get the vaccine.
But there are still hundreds of first responders waiting for their vaccines in Johnson County, Texas. Emergency manager Jamie Moore personally knocked on pharmacy doors looking for doses.
Can you afford to be getting in your car and knocking on pharmacy doors?
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is that we have to do what we have to do.
For now, there is only a limited supply of vaccines.
Can we go get it right now? Do we have first choice?
And there's plenty of confusion. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.
For millions of Americans, the crisis is compounded by economic devastation. Today, the first overall job losses reported since the early days of this pandemic. Here's Jolene Kent.
Tonight, a devastating blow to the already stalling economic recovery. 140,000 jobs disappeared in December, the overall unemployment rate holding steady, while Black and Latino communities were hardest hit. Nearly 16 million workers unable to work because of the pandemic.
We're in the midst of the most unequal economic and jobs crisis in modern history.
The most devastated industry, restaurants and bars. 372,000 jobs eliminated in December alone.
My friends were sending me money for food.
Los Angeles bartender Leilani Vela has been laid off twice, losing her health insurance as she grapples with type 1 diabetes.
I'm fully expecting to be evicted. I'm not somebody who has a lot of family help.
Her unemployment payments have been held up since July, the system overwhelmed since last spring.
So I called that number, which led me to another number which led me to another number, which then hung up on me.
Even with the new $300 a week in additional unemployment on the way, the economy is still missing about 10 million jobs, presenting a huge challenge for the incoming Biden administration. Lester?
Jolene Kent tonight. Thanks. We're tracking a major winter storm in the move this weekend. It could bring several inches of snow to Texas. Dallas could see the most snow since 2015 before that storm moves towards the Gulf on Monday. Let's circle back now and talk about the siege on the Capitol and how it's drawing more scrutiny of far-right extremist groups, including QAnon, and on the social media sites amplifying their disturbing messages. Here's Gabe Gutierrez.
Despite nearly universal outrage over the breach of the U.S. Capitol, some of the president's most loyal supporters say lawmakers may have deserved it.
It's our house. It's the people's house.
What used to be fringe beliefs are now amplified by the internet, including social media site Parler, which widely spread false claims that the presidential election was rigged.
We're at a point now where there is not Democrats and Republicans. There's establishment versus the people.
As for who was to blame for the rioting,
Antifa was here.
the FBI says there's no evidence of that. One pro-Trump rioter in face paint and a horn hat confronted law enforcement holding a spear. The man, now identified as Jake Angeli, told NBC News the fact that we had a bunch of our traitors in office hunker down, put on their gas masks, and retreat into their underground bunker, I consider that a win. Police say Angeli is a known follower of QAnon, a far-right extremist group. This woman told us she is too.
What evidence do you have for any of this?
It's all there in black and white. You guys are just blind. America is blind.
Ashley Babbitt, the Air Force veteran shot and killed in the riot, was another QAnon follower. Online, conspiracy theorists are now turning on her.
Her fellow QAnon people are now all saying it was all made up, a false flag for the deep state.
Also online, militia members are now calling for their own March on Washington on Inauguration Day. Lester?
Gabe, thank you. Up next, how to talk to children about this difficult week. The Capitol riot was tough enough for adults to watch and try to process. Now imagine what that was like for kids. Here's Rahima Ellis.
As the nation watched in horror, millions of our children watched too.
It made me feel sad. Why are they taking stuff?
I got scared for a sec.
We talked with kids 7 to 14 years old to find out what they're thinking about what happened at the Capitol. Cousins 14-year-old Caleb and 11-year-old Jaden.
It was just violent.
Caleb thinks the police response was unfair.
I thought that the police might have acted a little bit different, like used more force if the people had color or they were black.
What was your first thought?
I thought they were going to come here and come into our house.
10-year-old Daphne was shocked because she toured the Capitol on a family vacation.
We had stood in the rotunda and seen the amazing artwork and kept our hands to ourselves and followed the rules.
7-year-old Mila.
Did you understand why they were doing that?
I did understand that they were mad, but I still don't understand why they would do it.
Psychologists urge parents and teachers to help kids talk about it.
It's important to be honest, but talk to their age level. It is important for them to know that they are safe, to know that you care about what they think and how they feel.
Tonight, families struggling to explain this assault on an American treasure. Rahima Ellis, NBC News.
This is a confusing world for all of us. Up next, billion-dollar dreams inspiring America. After this tough week, Kerry Sanders inspires us with a billion-dollar story.
At the end of a tough week for our country, the giant jackpots have people dreaming big. The first Mega Millions, now at $520 million.
What would you do? Well, I'd probably help the church, help the family, maybe enjoy a little myself.
Add in Saturday's Powerball, and combined, the two equal close to $1 billion.
But really, what are the odds? How about a tacky calculation?
Mr. Kornacki?
Well, Kerry, okay, you want to get that jackpot, $500 million, you need all 5 balls plus that all-important Mega Bowl. Your odds of pulling that off, 1 in 302,575,350. About as many people as there are in this country.
A chance at the lucky numbers, giving so many something to hope for at a time when we need it most. Kerry Sanders, NBC News.
Good luck, everyone. That's Nightly News for this Friday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.